This presentation is entitled Strategic Time Management for College Students. It was adapted from the presentation of Keith Allen from Prezi.com. When it comes to time management, what we really need to focus on is how we're spending our time. And to do that, I recommend that you take some time to do some reflection on what's most important to you. Is that family? Is that friends? Is that your spirituality? Is that your physical wellness? And break that down into three definable categories, such as social, wellness, as well as entertainment time. First, what we must do is discover, plan, and act. And I'm going to break those down each line by line. Discover. Discover what time management practices and methods work best for you. Recognize that what time management practice or method works for you may not work for others, and vice versa. So discover what time management methods work best for you. For me, that includes doing a daily to-do list on my phone, as well as writing out my daily to-do list and having that readily available for me. Next is to plan. So we've discovered what time management methods and practices work best for us. Now it's to plan out those tasks and goals that are going to take up that time that we have mentioned. And lastly, act. So we've discovered the time management methods and practices that work for us. We've planned out our time accordingly, whether that's day to day, week to week, month to month, or semester to semester. And now what's most important is we act upon that plan. So what we first must do is maintain an accurate semester perspective. So this semester at a glance worksheet was actually compiled by Georgia Tech University and given to all of their students in their University 101 or first year seminar course. But if you don't want to use Georgia Tech's worksheet, all you need to do is go to Google, type in semester at a glance worksheet template, and whatever works best for you visually and formatting wise, they will have on Google. So what the semester at a glance worksheet does is breaks down your semester into month by month bits. So if we take a look at the spring 2018 upcoming semester, we would have January, February, March, April, and part of May, as traditionally our semester ends the first or second week in May with final exams and commencement. Once we have that semester perspective, what we may want to do if you kind of feel overwhelmed with all of the things that you have to accomplish in that semester or those 4 month period is break those down into a 2 week increments. So almost like a week at a glance. And I do this myself actually. I do a week at a glance professional as well as a week at a glance personal. So what are some things that I need to accomplish in this 2 week span personally? This may be paying bills. This may be calling a friend to wish them a happy birthday. It may be getting the oil changed in my car and maintaining maintenance and upkeep on my car or my apartment, etc. And then what do we plan in 2 week increments professionally? This includes any committee meetings or student org meetings that we may have. This can include any assignments, both short-term and long-term assignments. And what I mean by that is if you have a test in 2 weeks, don't begin to study the night before. Start planning out and studying 2 weeks out. And the same with your projects as well. Are there small tasks that have already been assigned that you can accomplish so that you're not rushing to complete the entire project at the very end? So there are 4 steps of micro time management, and this is very important when we're planning our time and trying to manage our time, is to break those time management goals or tasks into more bite-sized actionable pieces. And we can do that by focusing on the 4 steps of micro time management. So 1, list your goals. I'm sure a lot of you, if you could think about it, do have goals. But the most important thing is, have you written those goals down somewhere? If you have written those goals down somewhere, are they easily accessible? Are they on your phone? Did you write them up and are they in a notebook or a journal? Are they easily accessible? Do you have them in your back pocket, maybe in your wallet or your purse? Or maybe do you have them listed somewhere like on a dry erase board or a cork board in your office or your room or at home? So make sure when you're writing out your goals and listing those goals that you post those goals as well. That's most important. Organize and prioritize. This is where a lot of people can get kind of caught up in the number of goals that they've set for themselves. Oh, I don't have enough time to accomplish all 10 goals that I've set for myself for the year. Organize and prioritize based upon maybe when you would like to accomplish the goal or what's most relevant to you. What are some goals that are easily doable? And what I mean by that is when we have the opportunity to mark a goal or a task off of our list, it kind of provides us with a rush of endorphins, which will allow us to successfully accomplish the rest of the goals that we set for ourselves. So make sure you organize based upon priority, whether those are urgent or non-urgent, important or non-important goals, and then prioritize those as well. Formulate a plan. How are we going to accomplish those goals? When I talked about making sure when we set goals to put them into actionable bite-sized steps, this is what I really mean, is you formulate a plan by taking the goals that you have set for yourself and turning them into SMART goals. SMART, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And we'll talk more about SMART goals very briefly in the coming slides. And lastly, schedule and execute. Set deadlines for yourself and your goals. So not only in regards to soft deadlines, so ideally, if all else fails, I will have this done, this goal completed, or this assignment done 2 weeks out of when it's due. The soft deadline provides you some buffer, and maybe you have some time, a goal to work towards. The hard deadline is the absolute last time you would like to have the goal accomplished. So this means we set our soft deadline of 2 weeks. We have the goal accomplished 2 weeks before. So maybe what we do is our hard deadline is we have the goal accomplished 3 days before the deadline. Like I said, we would touch on this briefly, and this is very important when we are setting goals, is SMART goals. I'm sure all of you have heard what SMART goals are by now, but I'll just give you a little refresher. S is for specific. M is for measurable. A is attainable. R for relevant. And T, time-bound. So specific. Is your goal specific enough that you're going to accomplish it, or you know exactly what your goal is, but also broad enough that it provides a bit of flexibility for you? That's very important when we don't want to make our goals so specific that we take away from the larger picture. Measurable. How are we going to measure whether we've accomplished our goal or not? A great example of this is one of my goals was to read 60 books this upcoming year, and right now I'm at 58. And that's measurable by utilizing apps on our phone like Goodreads, where I can track my progress on how many books I've read, how many books I'm currently reading, and any books that I actually want to try to read to help me reach that 60 book goal. Is it attainable? It's very important for us to set realistic goals or attainable goals. When we set lofty goals, which is very important as well, sometimes we can get down on ourselves if we don't accomplish that specific goal. So when we set attainable, realistic goals, we're more likely to accomplish them, thus allowing us to focus on other goals that we have and accomplish those as well. Is it relevant? Take a look at your values. What are you hoping to learn in this next year? What are you hoping to accomplish in this next year? Where are you wanting to grow? And do your goals fit into those personal and professional values that you have? And then lastly, time bound. Set goals for yourself, whether they're short term, 1 to 3 months, middle term, 3 to 6 months, or long term, from 6 months to a year or even more. So we talked about adapting a semester perspective and then going into a 2-week plan. Remember, the most critical step is adapting the semester perspective that we talked about at the beginning of this presentation to a 2-week plan. List your goals for each class. So write those goals down. As I mentioned, not only list your goals for each class, but have those somewhere, maybe in your planner, your notebook that you utilize for that class, or maybe a folder that you use on your laptop or your smartphone for your class. Do that for the next 2 weeks. What are your goals this semester for the class? And then break those down into those manageable action-based steps that I had mentioned for the next 2 weeks. Start using to-do list for today. What I mean by to-do list is you can put everything on this to-do list. If we're talking more about class, write out attend class. Whether your class is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, when we write the list down of, hey, go to class, we're likely to, 1, not skip class, and 2, we have something very manageable and easy to cross off our list. I don't recommend skipping class at all, but when we do write that down and we start using to-do list and do simple things as go to class and write down when class is and in what room, we're more likely to accomplish that goal. We talked about this as well. It's not only important to organize your goals, but prioritize them as well. So there's a number of ways you can do this, and one of those practices, is the priority schedule, and A, B, C. So A obviously comes first. What are goals or tasks that I need to accomplish today or within the next 48 hours? B are those goals or tasks that I need to accomplish by the end of the week. And lastly, C are those things that maybe are a month out that we should start to think about, but don't necessarily have to be accomplished right away. Like I said, A is vital. It must get done now or immediately. B, important, so things that need to get done but may be put off. Like I said, that paper that you maybe have due at the end of the week, or a test that you have coming up on a Friday or a Saturday. Things that need to get done, but if it's Monday, you could probably wait until Wednesday or Thursday of that coming week to start studying for that test. And C is optional, can be put off indefinitely. Those are those things that are months out that we may think about. A comprehensive final exam. We shouldn't think about the comprehensive final exam in August during syllabus week when it's all the way in December, when that comprehensive final exam is. Yes, it's important to recognize this is the type of final exam I can expect in this class, but obviously you don't have to start studying for it right away. Nor should you, because that puts a lot of unneeded stress on our lives. So this is the urgent versus important priority schedule, and this is actually broken down into 4 different quadrants and was developed by Stephen Covey from his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So in quadrant 1, you have tasks that are important as well as urgent. So these are things such as crises that may come up, and we recognize that crises do happen. A family emergency, your car breaks down, a hurricane comes and disrupts all of our plans for the fall semester, like it did this past year. Pressing problems, such as bills that you have to do, or that are due, so that you can keep your electricity on, so you can keep running water in your house, and just make sure you're not affecting your credit score. And C, deadline-driven projects. These deadline-driven projects are things typically inside of the classroom that are group-based, where maybe you all are writing a paper as well as giving a presentation, and the paper is due before the presentation, and your group has to come up with an abstract 2 weeks after forming your group. Those are deadline things such as deadline-driven projects. Quadrant 2 is important and not urgent. So, and this is, remember, this quadrant and this urgent versus important priority schedule may be different depending on what your values are. Important but not urgent is quadrant 2, relationship building piece. This can include sending that email to your group mates or student org members about an upcoming event, calling your friend to wish them a happy birthday, or responding to that text. Finding new opportunities so that we can continue to grow while we're here at USF Sarasota Manatee. Long-term planning. Preventative activities. So by preventative activities, what I mean is getting enough rest. So getting 8 hours of sleep a night, or 7 hours of sleep a night, or 9 hours of sleep a night, depending on the number of hours you need to sleep. Those preventative activities will allow you not to burn out and also maintain your health and wellness, which is extremely important. Personal growth. So this may be reading a book. This may be volunteering. It's really all upon you and what you value. And then recreation. So working out 3 times a week for 20 to 25 minutes of aerobic exercises is important, but not necessarily urgent, depending on who you talk to. Quadrant 3 are tasks that aren't important and not important but are urgent. So interruptions, like I said, on a day-to-day basis, we'll probably be interrupted by email pings, text messages, meetings that may or may not arise that we have to attend to for our student clubs or student organizations or any group activities. Popular activities like going to the movies, um, going to eat lunch instead of eating lunch at your desk, eating lunch with someone, a friend. And then lastly, proximate pressing matters. So matters that are near, that are coming up, and also pressing. And then finally, quadrant 4 is not important and not urgent. So these can be things like time wasters, such as social media. We all have a tendency to take a little bit of break, and it's very important that we do take a break. But time wasters like social media can really pull us out of our motivation and desire to get work done. Some calls and emails may also not be important or urgent. And then lastly, pleasant activities. So here's some time management tips and tricks. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, I want to assure you that all of the time management tips and tricks that I mentioned are things that have worked for me or haven't worked for me. And if they don't work for you, that's perfectly okay. Don't think that there's something wrong with you. There's actually just something wrong with this time management tip, and that's not how you function. So not all of these tips and tricks may work for you. So fill in all of the things you have to do each week first. Our haves, remember that quadrant I just showed you. Quadrant 1, important and urgent tasks. Probably other things you may have to do, important but not urgent tasks as well. So fill in all the things you have to do each week first. Use small amounts of free / in-between time to study and review material. Maybe you show up 15 minutes early to a lunch and you're waiting on a friend, or you're waiting for a committee or student org meeting to start. Take that small amount of free / in-between time to study and review material for your class. Pull out a book and read, or my personal favorite is actually just to take about 5 to 10 minutes every hour or an hour and a half to kind of go for a walk and clear my mind. Look at school like a full-time job, i.e. 40 hours a week. I'm sure many of you probably have one part-time job, maybe 2 part-time jobs, or even a full-time job on top of attending school full-time. So look at school like a full-time job, because it is. There's time you have to set aside not only for in-class work, but out of class work and studying and working on projects, and also all those extracurricular activities which we want you to get involved in while you're here at USF Sarasota Manatee. Make sure your schedule is realistic and allow some room for flexibility. Remember those interruptions that we talked about that are important, not important, but they are urgent because they do happen. So make sure your schedule is realistic. If you wrote out all the things you have to do each week first, or each day first, and it accumulates to 25 hours in the day, recognize that there are only 24 hours in the day, so your schedule will not be realistic in that sense. So make sure your schedule is realistic and allows room for some flexibility. So now go out and take back your time. And how do we do that? So we do that by dividing big jobs into smaller, workable steps. So we've discovered the time management method or practice that's worked best for us. We've planned on how we're going to accomplish and utilize that time management method and practice to accomplish our goals. And then now we're going to act upon them. And by acting on them, what we do is we divide those big jobs into smaller, more actionable, workable steps. 2, we start big projects within the first week of being assigned. As soon as you're assigned a big project, whether that's a solo project for a class or a group project, are there things that you can begin working on right away? With a literature review, can you go out and find 5 to 7 articles that you maybe need for your literature review? Or is there an abstract or a purpose or a mission statement that you have to create as part of a group project for a business class? So start those big projects within the first week of being assigned them, or at least parts of those big projects within the first week of being assigned. Set daily and weekly goals and reward yourself appropriately when you complete them. So going about life and just being goal and action oriented without providing any opportunity to reward yourself will inevitably lead to burnout. So when we set daily and weekly goals, such as attend every one of my classes or pay all my bills on time, we can then reward ourselves for those positive actions. So a great way to reward yourself for attending all of your classes or getting an assignment done early may be to go see a new movie with your friends. Consider your study environment. What works best for you? Can you listen to music while you study? Or can you have others around you while you study? Or is this something where you prefer complete and utterly silence when you're trying to study? So consider your study environment. Learn to self-regulate. It's very important, again, that when we talk about setting time management goals or setting goals for ourselves and how time management methods and practices play a key role, is learn how to self-regulate so that we don't avoid burnout. Studies tend to show that for every 50 minutes that you're working on something or you're in deep work, that you take 5 to 10 minutes of a break. And this can mean utilizing social media or going for a walk or maybe getting a refill on your coffee. Time. We talk about it all the time. We each have the same 24 hours in a day. So make sure you go out and take back that time that we've mentioned throughout this presentation. And lastly, effort and energy. A great way to do this, and it's very important that you do this, is recognize where your energy levels are throughout the day. If you're a morning person, knock out some of those big action-oriented tasks that you have towards the beginning of the morning. Like me, I tend to be a bit of a morning person, but the first thing I do every morning when I get in is do an hour of reading and professional development, and then I answer emails and get into my work. This allows me to not only focus my energy where it should be going, but also allows for maximum effort, which means I'm going to produce quality products and I'm going to be of more benefit to not only myself, but my work environment. So now go out, take back your time, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please leave a comment or feedback on what's your favorite time management method or practice. Because we all learn from one another. So taking the opportunity to comment or provide feedback will allow us to learn from one another, and maybe we'll find a new time management method or practice that works best for us. Thank you very much.